You deposit $100 in your bank. Within hours, that bank turns it into $900. But here's the crazy part. You still only have $100. Where did the other $800 come from? And why aren't you getting any of it? This is the legal trick banks have been using for decades. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how they do it. Most people think banks work like a vault. You deposit money, they lock it up, and it sits there safely until you withdraw it. That's what your parents probably told you, right? Put your money in the bank where it's safe. But that's not even close to what's actually happening. In fact, your money isn't even there. Here's what really happens. Let's say you deposit that $100. The bank is only required to keep $10 of it. Yes, just 10%. This is called the reserve requirement. The other $90, they can lend it out immediately. But here's where it gets wild. That $90 doesn't disappear from your account. You still see $100 when you check your balance. So now there's $190 in the system from your original $100. Money just appeared out of nowhere. But wait, it doesn't stop there. The person who borrowed that $90 doesn't stuff it under their mattress, they spend it. Maybe they buy something from you and you deposit that $90 back into a bank. Now that bank keeps $9 and lends out $81. The person who gets that $81 spends it, someone deposits it, and the cycle continues. This is called fractional reserve banking. Let's do the math. With a 10% reserve requirement, your original $100 can theoretically create up to $900 in new loans. Add your original $100, and there's now $1,000 in the economy for money that didn't exist before. Banks literally create money out of thin air, legally. And this happens trillions of times across the entire banking system. Now, here's the kicker. Banks charge interest on all those loans. Let's say 5% interest. On that $900 in loans created from your $100, they're making $45 per year. But what do they pay you for your deposit? Maybe 0.5% if you're lucky. That's 50 cents per year on your $100. They make $45, you make 50 cents. See the problem? Let me give you a real example. In 2019, J.P. Morgan Chase had about $1.5 trillion in deposits, but they had over $1 trillion in loans outstanding. So where did that extra money come from? You guessed it, created through this system. And they made $36 billion in profit that year, not from investing your money wisely, but from creating new money and charging interest on it. This is why banks are so profitable. They're not just storing your money, they're using it as raw material to manufacture more money. And every time they create a loan, they create debt. Someone has to pay that money back with interest. This is why there's always more debt in the economy than there is actual money. It's built into the system. Now, before you get too angry, this system was designed this way on purpose. It's supposed to grow the economy. When banks create credit, businesses can expand, people can buy homes, and economic activity increases. The problem is, most people don't understand they're part of this machine, and banks have gotten very, very good at profiting from it. This system has a dark side. Remember 2008? Banks had created so many loans, especially bad mortgages. When people couldn't pay them back, the whole system nearly collapsed. Lehman Brothers failed. The government had to bail out the banks with taxpayer money. Why? Because if the banks fail, all that created money disappears and the economy crashes. You literally had to save the system that was profiting off you. Here's what banks will never advertise. When you deposit money, you're not a customer storing valuables. You're an unsecured creditor giving them a loan. Legally, that money becomes the bank's property. If the bank fails, you're just another creditor in line, hoping to get paid back. This is why FDIC insurance exists, to protect you when banks inevitably make bad bets with your money. Ever notice how banks drop savings account rates to basically zero, but credit card rates stay at 20%? That's not an accident.
The bigger the gap between what they pay you and what they charge borrowers, the more profit they make. And because fractional reserve banking lets them multiply your deposit, they have even less incentive to pay you competitive rates. Why would they? They can create their own lending capital. In 2020, something crazy happened. The Federal Reserve dropped the reserve requirement to zero. That's right, zero. Banks don't legally have to keep any of your deposit anymore. They can lend out 100%. Why? To stimulate the economy during COVID. But that rule is still in effect today. The money creation machine is running at full speed with no brakes. This is partly why Bitcoin and cryptocurrency gained popularity. Bitcoin has a fixed supply. Only 21 million will ever exist. No bank can create more. No government can print more. It's the opposite of fractional reserve banking. Whether crypto is the answer is debatable, but it's a direct response to this money creation system that most people don't even know exists. So what can you do about it? First, understand the game. Your bank account is a tool, not a wealth-building strategy. That 0.5% interest isn't keeping up with inflation. You're losing money by just saving. Second, use the same system banks use, leverage and investment. That doesn't mean going into debt, but it does mean putting your money to work in assets that appreciate faster than banks can devalue your savings. The banking system isn't evil, it's just a system, but it's designed to benefit those who understand it. Banks know the rules, they wrote many of them, and they profit massively from people who don't question where money comes from. Now you know. Your $100 becomes their $900. Your savings become their lending capital. Your deposits become their profits. If this changed how you think about banking, share this video with someone who needs to see it. Most people have no idea this is happening with their money right now. Subscribe to Money Mapped. We break down complex financial systems into simple visual stories so you can make smarter decisions with your money. Next video, we're exposing how credit cards trap you in debt. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.